Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode, and in this one we're looking at the Kowhai tree, which is the New Zealand Kowhai tree, and there's two distinct types, and that's Sophora microphylla and Sophora tetraptera. Now Sophora microphylla, if you look at the name, the difference is microphylla. Microphylla means small leafed, so one is small leafed, and tetraptera refers to the four petals or four wings of the flower. Now microphylla is a smaller plant, grows up to about 10 meters. Tetraptera is slightly larger, up to 12 meters, but they tend to stay around about this size here, which is around about 6 to 7 meters to about 5 meters wide. Now the plant is particularly useful for tuis and nectar feeding birds, where they'll come in the spring and feed off those yellow flowers. And it is actually a nice plant. Both plants are sort of what you'd call partially deciduous. So in the winter time they do lose some of their leaves, and they can look a little bit like they've lost all their leaves, but that's only a temporary thing, and they will gain their leaves back again. Now the two plants, the plants have been used throughout the history of human history here in New Zealand, with the Maoris initially using them for various things, potions, using the bark of the tree and boiling it up and putting that on cuts and bruises. They also used the flowers for dyes, and they used the branches and things, so they put them in hangis, which is sort of where there's a lot of moisture and heat, and then they'd be able to bend them and shape them into different things that might be useful, say for like a basket to catch eels and things like that. All parts of this plant are poisonous, so it's not a good idea to make bowls that you're eating from with them, because they can impart some poisons with those from the bark to the food. Now the plant itself, from the roots, if we go from the roots and work our way up, the roots, because it's a leguminous plant, that's what Sophora means. It means it's part of the pea families. It's a leguminous type of plant. The roots can fix nitrogen from the air, and that's very, very useful for this plant, because it doesn't, nitrogen is one of the main elements that plants need to grow, and having bacteria on the roots that form little nodules that can take the air and then convert that to nitrogen that the plant then can use is a great asset. So that's the roots. The roots were also used, I believe, by Maoris for little fish hooks and things like that. So moving up, the trunk itself can form around about 60 to 80 centimeters in width. It's not a big tall trunk, so they tend to be sort of a little bit semi-weeping, and then going up into the branches. Like I said, the branches could be used and be twisted and very flexible. Early settlers used to use them for some hand tools like rakes and things like that. And then all the way up to the leaves, beautiful little pinnate small leaves down the central axis on either sort of side. Like I said, one's got larger leaves, that's the tetraptera. The microphylla, the South Island Kowhai, has smaller leaves. The microphylla has seen various variations. These are natural variations crossing, and that's brought another 2 or 3 different varieties there, but they're all from that microphylla, and there's been a couple from the tetraptera. Now cultivars, these are things that are not natural but are man improvised. There are a few dwarf varieties, so if you're interested in Kowhais, then you can get a dwarf one, which will only go a couple of meters. There's also a Sophora prostrata. This is a sort of very small sort of bush, around about 1 meter by 1 meter. And if you're interested in bonsai, this is a perfect plant to use, and you can bonsai it up, make it look like a small tree, and it looks pretty cool. Or again, you can use it as a small ground cover or a small shrub in your garden. That's Sophora prostrata. Again, prostrata meaning prostrate, growing closer to the ground. So these plants are very popular, as in a national, the Kowhai flower is the national flower. It was even on the 2-cent coin. We don't have 2-cent coins anymore, but it was on the back of the 2-cent coin. If you Google 2-cent coins in New Zealand, you'll see a picture of the Kowhai on the back of the 2-cent coin. Now, what else to say about this plant? I think we've pretty much mentioned it. It does form pods, and in the pods there's little tiny yellow seeds. These yellow seeds are extremely tough, and to get them to germinate you need to take off some of that hard skin, either to sandpaper it off or cut a little bit off with some nail clippers, and then get the moisture in there with a bit of warm water. Okay guys, so we're probably going to leave it there for the Kowhai. Really nice to sort of use in different varieties, and cultivars can be used in your garden to create one of these great plants to feed the birds. Okay guys, we'll see you in the next video. Hi guys, and so we're just going to have a quick look at the how to propagate the seeds from the Kowhai. So as you can sort of see, this is the pods. Inside the pods are these little yellow seeds, which we'll have a closer look at. And to propagate them, as you see, that's the little tiny yellow seeds there that pop out. Hard to sort of see them, but there they are. They're the yellow seeds. They're inside those little pods. And all we have to do is just make sure we just sand a little bit off of the hard skin. We can clip using a bit of nail clippers, and the only thing we have to watch out for is that we don't clip the little darker bit, that little darker bit there, which is where the root and the shoot are going to come from. Then all we do is just pop them in water, and the ones that sink will be the viable seeds. The ones that float, a bit like rotten eggs, float, they won't be so good. And leave it for a day, let those seeds swell up, and then go and plant them up in some seed raising mix.